In the heart of the African savanna, an unlikely friendship blossomed between three souls who should have been strangers. This is their extraordinary tale of compassion and survival. The midday sun scorched the endless savanna, burning the horizon into a shimmering haze. Cicadas droned from brittle shrubs, and vultures wheeled lazily overhead, their shadows flickering across the cracked earth below. It was the kind of heat that pressed against lungs and slowed even the strongest of beasts. From the low thorn bushes, a frail figure emerged. A golden poppino, more than 4 months old, stumbled into the clearing. His fur was matted with dust, his ribs sharp beneath his skin. Each step trembled as though it might be his last. He paused, panting, and squinted against the sun. Ahead of him, towering like a sentinel of the plains, stood a giraffe. Her coat was patterned in dark lattice against pale gold. Her long neck stretched high into the canopy of an acacia tree. She pulled leaves with deliberate calm, chewing while her wide eyes scanned the savanna. The puppy staggered forward, too weak to bark, too fragile to appear threatening. Then, in a gesture so unthinkable that even the earth seemed to still, he rose clumsily onto his hind legs. His small front paws pressed together against his chest, his head bowed. His eyes, wide and glistening, radiated a plea no words could capture. The giraffe, later known to the rangers as Nura, jerked her long neck back, startled by the odd sight. Out. Her hooves shuffled against the dry earth, muscles tensing. Normally, she would have fled at even the faintest sign of a predator, but something in that trembling gesture froze her in place. She blinked, towering, uncertain. The puppy let out a frail, high-pitched whimper that carried across the grass. He turned, staggered a few paces away, then looked back over his shoulder. His eyes begged her to follow. Another cry escaped him, sharper now, urgent. Niru shifted her weight, ears flicking. Against instinct, she began to walk after him, slow, deliberate steps, her long legs stirring up dust. Her every sense strained for danger, yet she kept her gaze locked on the staggering pup, as though recognizing his desperation. Together, unlikely companions moved across the scorched plain, until they reached a shallow mud pit left behind by recent rains. There, half submerged in sludge, lay another young creature. A small elephant calf, barely larger than the puppy himself. His leg was pinned by a heavy branch that the storm had carried into the pit. Mud plastered his body, his eyelids fluttered weakly, and each shallow breath rattled through his chest. This calf would later be known as Amari. The golden pup rushed to the edge of the pit, pressing his tiny head against the calf's cheek, nudging gently as though offering comfort. Amari stirred faintly, but did not rise. Turning back to Nuru, the puppy whimpered again, his frail body trembling, his meaning unmistakable. "Please help him." Nuru lowered her great head, nostrils flaring. She rumbled, a deep, resonant sound that rolled across the plain. Circling the pit, she stamped her hooves against the earth. Dust rose in clouds. Vultures above wheeled uneasily and then scattered from her warning. For that moment she stood like a guardian tower, a living wall against the cruelty of the savanna. Her cry traveled far. It reached the ears of humans. In the distance, a battered Land Rover bounced across the uneven terrain. Inside, 2 rangers from a nearby wildlife sanctuary peered through binoculars, scanning the horizon. They had been tracking reports of poachers in the area, but the giraffe's unusual behavior caught their attention. As they drew closer, the scene unfolded before them like a mirage. A giraffe standing sentinel, golden puppy, barely more than skin and bones, pacing anxiously. And there, in the mud, the trapped elephant calf. The rangers sprang into action. With ropes and a winch from their vehicle, they carefully extracted Amari from the pit. The calf was weak, dehydrated, and his leg was badly injured. Every movement seemed to cause him pain. Throughout the rescue, the puppy never left Amari's side. He licked the calf's face, nuzzled against him, as though trying to lend strength through sheer force of will. And Nuru, the giraffe, remained nearby, her tall form casting a protective shadow over the unlikely pair. With great care, the rangers loaded Amari into the back of their vehicle. The golden puppy, refusing to be left behind, leaped in after him. As they drove away, Niru watched, her long neck stretched out, following their path until they disappeared into the shimmering heat haze. At the sanctuary, veterinarians worked tirelessly to save Amari. His leg was badly infected, and for days it was unclear whether he would survive. The golden puppy, now named Rafiki by the staff, refused to leave the elephant's side. He curled up next to Amari's trunk, offering warmth and companionship through the long nights. Slowly, miraculously, Amari began to improve. His trumpet, weak at first, grew stronger with each passing day. And always Rafiki was there, tail wagging at every sign of progress. As news of the unusual rescue spread, visitors flocked to the sanctuary. They marveled at the sight of the tiny golden puppy devotedly tending to his enormous friend. Children pressed their faces against the viewing windows, wide-eyed at the power of this unexpected bond. Amari's recovery was long and challenging. There were setback days when the pain seemed overwhelming, when the calf's spirit faltered, but Rafiki never wavered. He licked Amari's face, played gentle games of tug-of-war with his trunk, and snuggled close during thunderstorms that made the young elephant tremble. The sanctuary staff, touched by Rafiki's unwavering loyalty, made sure the puppy received the care he so desperately needed as well. Regular meals filled out his once skeletal frame, and his golden coat began to shine with health. Yet no matter how many treats or toys he was offered, Rafiki's favorite place remained by Amari's side. Months passed, and Amari grew stronger. His leg, though scarred, healed well enough for him to walk without pain. The day came when the veterinarians declared him ready to return to the wild. It was a bittersweet moment for the sanctuary staff, who had grown to love the gentle calf. As they prepared for Amari's release, a debate arose. What would become of Rafiki? The puppy had never shown any inclination to leave the sanctuary grounds. He seemed content in his role as Amari's companion and protector. Some argued that he should remain at the sanctuary, where he would be safe and cared for. But on the morning of Amari's release, as the gates of the enclosure swung open, Rafiki made his choice clear. He bounded to Amari's side, tail wagging furiously, eyes bright with excitement. There was no question where Amari went, Rafiki would follow. The Land Rover bumped across the savannah, carrying Amari, Rafiki, and a team of rangers to a carefully chosen release site. As they drove, the puppy's tail thumped steadily against the floor of the vehicle, as though keeping time with Amari's excited trumpeting. They reached a quiet stretch of grassland, dotted with acacia trees and a nearby watering hole. The back of the Land Rover was lowered, and Amari took his first tentative steps onto the sun-baked earth. Rafiki pranced around him, yipping encouragement. For a moment, the two friends stood still, taking in the vast expanse of their new home. Then, with a playful toss of his trunk, Amari set off at a trot, Rafiki bounding happily at his heels. The rangers watched, tears in their eyes, as the unlikely pair disappeared into the tall grass. It was a scene none of them would ever forget, the lumbering grace of the young elephant and the joyful leaps of his tiny canine guardian. As the Land Rover turned to leave, movement on a distant ridge caught their attention. There, silhouetted against the setting sun, stood a familiar figure. Nuru, the giraffe who had first answered Rafiki's plea for help, gazed down at the reunited friends. Her long neck swayed gently in the evening breeze, as though offering a silent blessing. Days turned into weeks. Against all odds, Amari grew stronger. His trumpet returned, echoing once more across the yard. And always, the little golden puppy was there, the fragile wanderer who had begged for help and now refused to leave. When Amari was released back into the wild, the puppy bounded at his side, tail wagging with joy. And on a distant ridge, Nuru appeared once more, her silhouette cut against the flaming horizon. A puppy, a giraffe, and an elephant calf, three souls who should have been strangers, yet became bound together by compassion under the burning African sun.